I started a PowerApps app making project. Hi, this is Mike Negami, Lean Sigma Black Belt. I am recently into PowerApps very much. Then I started a personal project using PowerApps. It's named Home Accounting Improvement Project. This will be a topic of my PowerApps video series that will show the way you can master PowerApps. Please remember when you start learning PowerApps to come back and watch this series. I wrote a project charter so you can see what kind of project it is. Project statement. I made a home accounting program with Excel that enables me to import downloaded statements from financial institutions. But after importing the data, I've failed to categorize income and expenses and haven't utilized that data well. Business case. Until now, I've had meetings with my wife for categorizing. But I'll make an app with PowerApps that enables us to do that categorizing by ourselves so that we can prevent workflow stagnation. This is a value stream map of the target flow. Step 3 says each person finishes categorizing with the mobile app. We'll make that app with PowerApps this time. By the way, Microsoft is asking us to code work on PowerApps making instead of development. I guess they want to emphasize that we can complete the work easily in a short time. I agree with that 100%. I also made a simple design plan which shows each screen in my app and the flow of information and necessary functions between them. During this process, you can consider what kind of source data you need. Screen 1 shows a list of our transactions with dates, pays, and dollar amounts that were imported from Google Drive. We also need input boxes for category names and notes. It's more convenient if we can select the category from a drop-down, so I'll also import my category table. We'll sometimes need a new category, so I'll put in a button which navigates us to screen 2 on which there are a list of categories. You would enter a new category in the text box and press the Add button to add it to the list. Press the back button to return to screen 1. After entering categories for transactions and pushing the Save button, all the input data goes to the Google Drive. For a project at work, if you make a good design plan and get acknowledgement from all your stakeholders, you can reduce redos later. But PowerApps is so easy that it doesn't even matter if you didn't make a design plan at all, and you can start making an app right away. Now let's do the first step of app making, preparation of the source data. This is my source data for this app. I mentioned on the last video its requirement to keep the data as a table. Simply select the data range and select Home, Format as Table, and choose the format you like. It's because by making it a table, PowerApps can clearly recognize the source data range. Another requirement is when you use formulas in the data, you have to change it to value before saving the file on the cloud. Unfortunately, PowerApps doesn't recognize the value of formulas. Simply select and copy the range of the formulas. Right-click and select values in the paste options. Next, let's talk about the 4 tips. The first tip is to clarify the data format of each column, which will prevent problems later. Select a column, and you can change its format by selecting Home and Number format. Especially, don't leave any data as general. After exporting the data to PowerApps, there are times that data changes to unexpected format. Please clarify each column's data, whether it's text, percentage, date, currency, or number. The second tip is that all structural names used by the software should be only alphabet letters and underscores. You should avoid using special characters. It's better even to use an underscore instead of a space, which prevents garbled characters. I had unknown error that occurred, but it was because there was a period in one of the column headers. The third tip is that since these names will be referred many times in PowerApps work, it's better to name each data specifically rather than table 1 or header 2. For example, since this is a table of transactions, I set it to TBL transaction, and since this is a transaction day, I set this header post date. Later, this will make your job very easy. The last tip is if you have multiple tables in one file, you should put each table in a different worksheet. When updating the table from PowerApps, the column sometimes shifts and an error will occur. Then save your source data in the cloud. I used Google Drive, but PowerApps is compatible with all major cloud services. It's very useful. Since PowerApps is a relatively new technology, it's a problem that there is a little information out there. At the beginning, I did not know about the source data tips that I talked about today. I tried over and over again and spent a lot of time. I don't want you to do the same, so I'll share more of what I learned about PowerApps from now on. Thank you very much for viewing. Please click the subscribe button. Also, click and watch my other related videos. Thanks.